Hildy later discovered that Coimbra is a place in Portugal, and she started to write letters to the man staying there. The man told her that he was disturbed day and night by the ghosts, disembodied screamings, and tables flying off everywhere. And she was very pleased about it, and he thought she was strange. And also she offered him a good price to buy the place from him. But the man couldn't sell the house because it was a house left by his great-great-great-grandfather, and it has been there for generations. Although it was a burden for him, he had to hold on to the house. Hildy was getting desperate. At one point, she even had a crazy thought to kill someone so that the someone's ghost would haunt her. But then she thought, this isn't a really good idea to start a friendship, so she abandoned the idea altogether. Finally, she decided if she could not buy a haunted house, she had to build one herself. So she started to look for a haunted spot and start to gather all the materials from haunted things, like the wood salvaged from a shipwreck where no survivors were found, bricks from the crematorium, and stone columns from a poor house where people were burned and no survivors were found. She decorated her house with haunted things that she could find. She even bought a bureau from the man in Portugal. The bureau, he said, at 3 o'clock in the morning, there would be a sound of a crying baby. When her house was ready before she moved in, just for a good measure, for a whole month, she allowed families to hold funerals there. And just after the stroke of midnight, after a thunderstorm, she moved in. And Hildy was not disappointed. Ghosts were everywhere, until the house could not hold all of them. They were crowded in the attic, in the basement, and even fight for spaces under the bed. And there was always a queue to the bathroom. Of course, they didn't use the toilet. They just needed to look into the mirror to make sure that their hair and faces were scary enough. Hildy walked from room to room to introduce herself to the ghosts. The ghost of a young man said to her, "You can see us? Aren't you frightened by us at all?" Hildy said, "No, I'm not. I want to be friends. Do you want to play?" But the ghost said, "No," and he hurried off. He was disappointed. He was looking to haunt somebody and frighten them, but Hildy wasn't frightened at all. Hildy decided to pretend to be frightened by the next ghost she see. There was a ghost of an old woman who was in the kitchen trying to make knives float. "Ah!" Hildy cried. "What happened to my knives floating around? I must be losing my mind." And the old woman ghost seemed to be pleased to see her frightened face. She tried to make the knives float even higher, and just then another ghost was crawling on the floor, and the old woman ghost tripped over and fell, and all the knives clattered all over the floor. "What do you think you were doing?" the old woman shouted to the crawling ghost. "Can't you see I'm trying to work?" And the crawling ghost shouted back, "I'm trying to work too. Can't you see where you're going?" Hildy started to laugh because she couldn't help it, and the ghosts stopped and said, "You can see us? And obviously you are not frightened at all." Hildy tried very hard to stop laughing. No, I was afraid." And the old woman ghost said, "You are just humoring me. I've never felt so humiliated in all my death." Hildy didn't know what to do. The ghosts didn't seem to be pleased with her reactions. She went back to the bathroom where the ghosts were lined up and said, "Does anybody want to be my friend?" But all the ghosts looked down and no one answered her. Hildy was disappointed again. She thought, you cannot force the living people to be your friends. Neither can you to the dead people.